Bethesda has released a ton of banger series, from Doom to Fallout to Elder Scrolls. And with the new IP Starfield coming out September 5th, I want to be fully immersed in the Bethesda experience. So I played every mainline Elder Scrolls game, starting with Arena. The Elder Scrolls Arena was released in 1994, and it shows because it does not stand the test of time. There are a few good things like being able to choose where your character is from, which gives you a race native to that area. Like Skyrim, you'll be a Nord, or Hammerfell, you'll be a Redguard. The character customization is similar to D&D. You pick a race, you pick a class, and you get attributes. And for the combat, you have to hold down the right mouse button and swing the mouse in whatever direction you want to attack. Which is cool and all, and I'm sure it was innovative back then, but it doesn't work for the game because you can't look up and down. If there's a rat attacking your little cozies, you have to swing the mouse down and hope that you actually hit the rat. The controls for the game suck, and there's no way to change them without a command prompt. This game doesn't hold your hand one bit. The first dungeon is filled with creatures like rats and goblins who can kill you extremely fast. Maybe I'm just dumb or I wasn't paying attention, but the game doesn't tell you that you can crawl out of the sewer water. After struggling for half an hour,
Alright, we're done.
I finally made it out of the dungeon.
Oh, I did it!
I should have known, since it was almost impossible to leave the dungeon, that the world would be impossible to navigate as well. I ran into some interesting people.
What are you doing?
But at that point, I had enough. So overall, it's cool to revisit the first Elder Scrolls game, but I will never touch it again. So next up, Daggerfall. Daggerfall was released in 1996, just 2 years after Arena, and it improves on many things that were horrible in Arena. You can now look up and down. You can also change the controls within the game. The combat doesn't change though.
No, there's no way, right? Like...
Unfortunately, a major flaw in this game as well is the navigation. There's a whole 3D map in the game, but you can never really know where the hell you are. And again, the first dungeon is filled with enemies that will annihilate you.
That's insane.
After escaping, you're able to visit High Rock and Hammerfell, but the map is difficult to navigate as well. So I spent like 10 minutes just traveling in one direction until I finally made it into town. The issue is there's no indicator for what you're supposed to be doing. I tried talking to the townspeople to find out what I had to do, but they were just so boring. Another thing with this game is that if you sleep in a town, the guards will attack you.
Hold! 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 What the?
After struggling to figure out what to do, I just decided to give back to the community.
You want? Dang! Catch that.
And again, I was attacked by the guards for no reason. So with that, we move on to Morrowind. Morrowind's release was in 2002. This is when the Elder Scrolls games started to get good. I don't believe I mentioned it before, but I hadn't played the other Elder Scrolls except for Skyrim. So these games were a surprise to me.
This dude?
In the beginning, you meet Jib, who's an important person to my character, Jib, as well as his descendants. This game is a level up from the previous two. It was similar to KOTOR in design, and there were spears, which only lasted this game, unfortunately. The characters, even though they look horrible, had personality.
Oh, this is great.
What is this about?
Who are you talking to?
This time, you don't start off in some dungeon. You're actually given the chance to... After suffering such an embarrassing loss, I knew I needed revenge. I had to be stronger, smarter, better. So I started by going and getting the Boots of Blinding Speed. The Boots of Blinding Speed give you 200 points into your speed stat. And once you level speed to 100, that's 300 in total. So you end up going from this to this. And next I needed a weapon. And earlier we were talking about spears. So why not get a Daedric spear? All you have to do is go into this mine, walk out, and then meet with a guy.
Hey!
After meeting with him, he'll give you a free Daedric weapon just for telling him the location of the mine. And while we're in Vivec, I might as well as get some money and armor. So I went up, stole the key, and got into the Vivec treasury. All I had to do is wait for this guy to leave and lock him out, and I had free armor. After acquiring the armor, I needed to go sell the extras. So I went to this dude.
Who hell is this guy?
and got a bunch of money, which will lead me into my next step. In this game, you can level your stats up by training, and all you have to do is pay for it. There's an exploit where you can lower your stat to 1, and all you have to pay for it is 1 schmeckle. So that's exactly what I did. I lowered my spear, my medium armor, my athletics.
I don't know if I like this.
And after getting almost all of my stats to 100, there was only one more step: enchanting my weapon. I decided to go with the absorb health skill. At that point, I'm invincible. So there's only one thing left to do: get it back in blood.
Die!
After exacting my revenge, I learned that they were slavers, so I freed the slaves. Morrowind was a lot of fun, but now it's time to move on to the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. The Elder Scrolls Oblivion released in 2006, and it's the second best game in the series. The character customization is still a bit wonky like the previous games, but I tried to make a replica of Jib. This is Jib's son, Jib. The game's graphics leave much to be desired, but again, it's from 2006, so it's not that big a deal. The game's story is a little more fleshed out and understandable than previous games. The Mythic Dawn is trying to open a portal to Oblivion so Maroon's Dagon can come through. It's a great storyline, however to me it felt very short and rushed. I decided for my first ever play of Oblivion I wanted to break the game. I watched a video by the Spiffing Brit and decided to follow that to become insanely overpowered. We're going for 100% spell and damage reflection, so anytime an enemy hits us, they'll really be hurting themselves. So the first order of business was to make an insane amount of money. It was easy because there's a duplication glitch, and all you do is click on an item with a high amount and then drop the item you want to duplicate on the ground. I did this for a few hours and made just enough money to get by. Just like Morrowind, you can buy attributes from these trainers, but unfortunately in this game you can only do 5 a level.
Knowledge is power.
So before retrieving the items, we power leveled our character.
Good. You've...
After finishing the leveling process, we could finally start retrieving the items. The first item was the Raiment of the Crimson Scar, which gives us our first reflect damage of 35%. Next was the Escutcheon of Coral, which gave us another 35% of reflect damage. Next was the Ring of the Iron Fist, which gave us a reflect damage of 33%, which netted us 103% reflect damage. And the last item we need to retrieve, which is a rare find, is the Mundane Ring.
Now we resist 100% of magic, we reflect 103 damage, we reflect 35% of spells, and we absorb 50% of spells.
And even though we had all this, I felt like we could still go further. So I went and snatched the crown off this dude's head, the Diadem of Euphoria. I did a few mage guild quests to get the Spelldrinker Amulet.
Tough. Spell absorption, 26 points on self. Those.
After becoming an actual living god, I was lost.
What do we do now? What do you mean?
Now we can finally play the game. Oh, wow.
Now that we're at the story, we have to make our way through the first Oblivion gate and destroy the sigil stuff. Then I had to talk to Brother Martin, who's actually the son of Uriel Septim.
Brother Martin.
I heard about how you helped the guard drive the dead.
After some unimportant quests, I had to help Boris infiltrate the Mythic Dawn. For some reason, he thought he was me, and thought he was the hero of the game or something.
A time of cleansing. He's almost here.
Move! Boris, move! Oh my god!
Then I had to steal this book that would allow us to go into the final Oblivion gate. But first I had to recruit some members. After recruiting everybody, it was time to make our way into the final Oblivion gate. Which was easy because all I had to do was break the Great Sigil Stone. Now it was time to take on the final boss, Mankar Cameron. And for some reason, he was the hardest person in the game to beat. Even with all my godlike abilities, I was still taking damage.
Only the chosen.
This fight took over 20 minutes. After that time, I was finally able to beat him.
vision will yet be revealed. Oh, Uriel still.
Fucking finally. Give me that shit, you dumb bitch. Give me all your shit. Fuck you. Fuck you. Give me that staff, too.
My work was finally done. I just had to escort Brother Martin somewhere.
Farewell.
Once we got there, he started
You've
giving me
been a
this
good
speech
friend
like we were friends
for a
or
time.
something. But then he...
Now I must go. The dragon waits.
What? Bro, I can take it. What?
And that was the ending of Oblivion. Martin turned into a dragon.
The amulet is shattered. Dagon is defeated. With the dragon's blood and the amulet of kings.
But now it's time to head to the final Elder Scrolls game, Skyrim.
The deed is done.
The Elder Scrolls Skyrim was first released in 2011, then 2013, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2021, 2022. But regardless, if that doesn't speak to how popular this game has been, then I don't know what to tell you. The story for Skyrim isn't actually very long, but the side quests and the immersion that the game brings actually makes the gameplay last hours, and then the replayability is infinite. Like many others, I played Skyrim a ton of times, but I remember that I've actually only beat the bosses once or twice. So I set out to defeat all 3 game bosses, Alduin, Harkon, and Mirak. This is Jib. You may have heard of his grandfather, freer of slaves, and father, savior of Kvatch. Jib has inherited something powerful from his father in particular, these hands. But to have Jib live up to his name, he's going to have to be as strong as his ancestors. So we have to do what we did in the other games. Grind stats. I did alchemy, smithing, destruction, conjuration, heavy armor, light armor, shields, and most importantly, enchanting. With all this power, I needed to commit the biggest game-breaking bug, the restoration glitch. To do this, you need a set of gear with improved alchemy on it. Then you create a restoration potion, you unequip the armor, and the stats on the gear improve. You keep going until the number is an insane amount. Then you create an enchanting potion and smithing potions. I decided to go with full ebony armor. Next, I enchanted each armor piece, with the most important being the gauntlets. After that, it was time to test out my gear.
Hey, man.
Up to me, fists raised. You looking for a beating?
I set out to fight the first boss, Alduin, by heading to and through Bleak Falls Barrow. Then we went up and beat Jib's first dragon.
I got him, everybody. Don't even worry about it. He'll land and die.
Then I was sent to retrieve the Horn of Jurgen Windcaller by those old musty men, but it wasn't even there. I went to talk to Delphine, but these bums were waiting for me, so I made quick work of them. And then I got my first sighting of Alduin. If only I could have laid these hands on him. Then I had to do my least favorite quest in Skyrim, the Thalmor Embassy one, but I tried to make quick work of that. I had to make my way to this bald, insane dude.
Dragonborn.
He wanted to go to Alduin's wall, but tragedy struck on my way there. I met the goat,
Come all this way.
grabbed the Elder Scroll, and then beat up Alduin for the first time.
See you, man.
I had to do that stupid Civil War meeting, and the Blades told me to go kill Parthenax, but he dropped this crazy quote on me.
What is better, to be born good, or to overcome your evil nature through great effort?
Then I forced Odahviing to fly me to Sovngarde so I could finally beat up Alduin.
Come on. Say bye-bye.
After defeating the first boss Alduin, it was time to fight the second one, Harkon. I started by retrieving his daughter, had her doing tricks on it and everything. I brought her home late after curfew, but I wasn't able to beat up her dad right there. After a few errand quests, Serana came back because she couldn't get enough of me.
This vampire.
So we made our way back through her home to the Soul Cairn. Which is crazy because I actually met this dude with the same name as me. We met up with Serana's mom and retrieved the Elder Scroll. Then I had to make my way through another dimension just so I could beat up this pale dude and take his bow. Next, it was time to raid the castle and come face to face with Harkon.
Of course I do.
With the second boss defeated, it was finally time to take on the fraud Dragonborn. Again, I wasn't able to knock him out right then and there, so they made me go and get this black book and sacrifice this dude to some tentacles just for some armor that I wouldn't even need. I met Mirak ready to do the same thing I've done to every other character, but the game did not like that and actually bugged out.
You good, man?
I was finally able to get past the bug and gave him that Saitama treatment.
I've had enough of you.
With all three bosses Skyrim defeated, I could finally say I played every Elder Scrolls game. I wanted to give Jib a good send-off, so I had him start a family. He got married, adopted some kids,
Oh.
and then he was approached by this dude.
Time has come.
I heard a lot of stories about him, so I knew this fight wasn't going to be easy. I had to be as prepared as possible.